Hey, what is up guys, I'm Exteria, and in this video, I'm going to teach you guys how to play level 9 boards in set 15. Before I go into detail on how to play it exactly step by step, let me show you some gameplay examples of how you would achieve to hit fast 9 in most of your games. In our first game here, we'll be playing Puddle. This is actually really important because we gain more econ, so this means that we're able to hit fast 9 in the long run. When you're choosing your first augment in order to win streak, you have to look for something that powers up your board. The reason why you want to play the win streak style is because you save a lot more HP in the long run, so around stage 4 or stage 5, you can hit fast 9 and roll for all the legendary units. For this gameplay example, I decided to go for Shimmer items because this allows me to get either Gambler's Blade or Collector. These two items allow you to gain gold on kills or basically on drop every time you auto attack, which is Gambler's Blade. And in this case, I chose to get Gambler's Blade because Lucian is an AP unit, so therefore I put it on Lucian to gain more AP damage. And from here, I want to slam more items, so I slam Sunfire on my tank to gain extra damage on the board. And I choose to put Fruit on Lucian because he's level 2 to power him up even more. And you have to look for powerful combat fruits so you can win streak in the early game. With whatever I had set up, over time, I try to put it in Crystal as well so I can gain more econ on top of that. You know, we're playing an econ game mode. It helps a lot to gain even more econ because it takes a lot of money to hit level 9. And on top of that, we're also 5 streaking. Therefore, we gain even more econ because the more you streak, the more gold you get. On stage 3-7, as you see right now, I'm on a 10 win streak. And how I did it is because I have a lot of synergies on the board, and I also have a level 2 3 cost unit that is very flexible. You gotta try to look for a lot of splash trade units like Udyr because he gives me a lot of stats on the board because he's also a mentor. Mentor helps you win streak as well. So try to look to fit in Kubuko, Udyr, or Yasuo on your board so you can be even more powerful than what you already are. Now, once you get to stage 4, you kind of want to lose majority of your rounds if you win enough HP, because if you have more than around like 80 or 90 HP, then you're allowed to lose majority of stage 4, because by the time you hit Raptors round, you'll be around like 30 HP to 40 HP. So after Raptors, you hit level 9, then roll for your 5 cost units. But in this game, I did it a little differently. Just because we're playing Puddle, we gain a lot of econ. And on top of that, I have an econ augment, which is the second one I have, a magic roll, which gave me a lot of gold. So therefore, I chose to roll around stage 4-4 because I had a lot of money to get the Zyra. And then now after this stage, around stage 5-1, then I decided to roll all my gold just so I can look for more legendary units to power up my board even more than it already is. Towards at the end of the game, during the final round, I actually won the game because I have a lot of econ to level 2 every 5 cost unit since we 10 streak early game. And then we lost some health so we can hit level 9. Then we used the rest of the gold to upgrade the board just to win the game. Just to accelerate this video, for the second gameplay, same thing like the first gameplay, I'm trying to look for an item augment so I can win streak with. Therefore, I chose Pyromaniac because it gives me a free red buff, and it also gives me more damage on this item itself. So therefore, I chose this item. And in this game, I'm trying to look for an AD board. So therefore, I chose to do Jhin and Gnar for snipers, and I have 2 Raves on the board, and also have 2 Juggernauts for main tanks. Over time, I actually changed my board, and the reason why I did that is because I actually wanted to have stronger synergies on the board. This allows me to have mech, duelist, and heavyweight. This is actually really important because if I had Jhin on the board, I cannot play Jhin with mech because there's no mech units that is sniper. So therefore, I chose to do KO to get the GP for duelist. So the more synergies you have, the more powerful you be. And this allowed me to 5 streak because we have a lot of powerful synergies on the board with decent items. Over time, I lost a couple of rounds just because KO is not an AD unit, she's an AP unit. So therefore, I'm trying to look for like an Ashe board for level 9. And there is a variation of it, which I will show later in this video. But for the most part, I don't want to look for fast 9ing since I didn't 10 streak and I have around like 85 HP. Technically, I could lose majority of stage 4 to fast 9, but in the long run, you will bleed out and probably just die right away because it takes some time to transition from a level 8 board to a level 9 board. So therefore, I chose to look for a level 8 board for this game. So during stage 4-2, when you're able to pick your third augment, I decided to roll down majority of my gold so I could look for a little bit better board because I know I need stronger synergies in order to win. Because right now I have 3 duelists and 3 juggernaut, so I'm trying to look for 4 duelists and 4 juggernaut to power my board, or this potential Ashe 2, which I actually didn't get this game, and somehow I also didn't get Udyr 2 as well. But I just gotta hope and pray that this board is strong enough for me to make it to fast 9 after Raptors. Around stage 4-7, I somehow managed to win a couple of rounds with this weak board, even though I have level 1 Udyr and level 1 Ashe. But because I have strong synergies like 4 duelists, 4 juggernaut, this allows me to save a lot of HP in the long run. So around stage 5-2 or 5-3, I decided to hit level 9 to play for a better board. And then around stage 5-5, because I won a couple of rounds, I actually wanted to save some gold until I lost a round, which I did lose a round on stage 5-3. So therefore I chose to roll stage 5-5 because I lost that one round, so I could play a better board here. And it ended up hitting not much, but it should be enough to probably win the game later down the line. Spoiler alert, I did hit Ashe 3 in this game, but that's besides the point. I actually would have got top 4 either way because I have 50% HP. So because I didn't choose the sack stage 4 too hard and I rolled a little bit, I saved enough HP to manage to hit top 4 no matter what, even with or without the Ashe 3. Towards the end of the game, you can see here, I played mostly legendary units, and I ended up getting second this game, just because I didn't hit a Yon 2, which is kind of sad, but it's fine because I managed to get at least top 2, even though I had a really bad game because I super low rolled majority of my units. But that's besides the point. You should learn your spots on how to be strong with picking the right augments, and you should learn how to power spike your board with better synergies. To summarize everything that we've seen so far, it's basically look for item augments so you can at least 5 win streak so you can gain enough gold. If you're good enough or lucky enough, 10 win streak would be best, but in most cases that won't happen. Also, while you're playing for a 5 streak, play the best board you can with lots of synergies, because the more synergy you have, the more damage you will do, or you'll be tanky enough for your damage dealers to do enough damage to win rounds. Lastly, sack stage 4 if you're looking to level 9, because you'll gain enough gold so you can roll for your 5 cost units later. When you are playing a level 9 board, the main synergy you want to play around is Luchador. The reason why is because the synergy is so strong with just 2 units on the board to activate this trait, because this trait gives you a lot of attack speed, and it also gives you some health back, and it also stuns units as well. So this kit overall is just super overloaded, and there's a lot of great units that are luchadors. For example, Braum. Braum is the main center of attention you kind of want to play around because his ability allows units to be executed. So therefore, this unit is actually very useful. Even without items, at least his execution can do something. And the other units that you can play with Braum, other luchadors such as Volibear or Mundo or Gnar. So you choose one of these 3 with Braum, and you can build around whatever comp you want. For Braum's case, the unit that you want to use as a Bastion with Braum would be Swain, because Swain is a Crystal Gambit, and this allows you to play Zyra. Zyra is a very powerful carry, and since Swain is also a Sork, you can also play Gwen as well on top of this board. Speaking of Gwen, you can use Xin Zhao if you don't want to use Swain, and you can use a different Sork like maybe Karma or something, so therefore you can use Gwen as the main carry instead of Zyra. I will discuss food boards after this explanation, but for now let's talk about what units you can play with Volibear, because Volibear is a very powerful unit as well. You don't really need too many items on him, you can just throw these gloves and it's fine. And since he's an edgelord unit, the other edgelord you want to throw out would be Yone, because he's a very strong and powerful unit as well. He does a lot of damage and he has a micro CC. So if you have any AD items, you can just throw it on Yone instead. If you don't want to play the edgelord route, you can also play Mundo as well with Braum, so you can have Juggernauts with a lot of tanks. Most of the time when you do play Mundo, you do want to play a lot of Juggernauts, like around 4, because this makes you cap your board pretty hard. And the other Juggernaut that you play with Mundo most of the time is an Udyr, and Udyr is very powerful because he's a mentor, therefore you gain more attack damage and ability power on the board. And your main carry you want to play around the Udyr because he's a duelist, it's going to be an Ashe, so you have a lot of synergies there. For Gnar's case, if you want to play with Braum and Gnar, you can easily do just a Sniper Bastion route, but if you want to play a Cap 9 board, I can show that later, you can play with Varus. Hopefully you can understand where I'm getting at. There's a lot of versatility you can do with Luchador, so you can just build around what you can have. Now finally to the main part of the video where most of you want, which is the boards that you can play. And the first comp we're going to be talking about here is the Ashe board style. And to understand when you want to play Ashe as the main carry for level 9 board is when you have a lot of bulls, like for example Gwynsu's Rageblade or Krakens, because she works really well with every bull item. So you could even build double Gwynsu's Rageblade on her. As long as you have one Kraken and one Rageblade, the other item doesn't really matter. And the unit that pairs up really well with Ashe would be Udyr, because he is a duelist. And with the Luchador concept earlier, like I said, the unit you kind of want to play around Udyr would be Mundo, since they're both Juggernauts. And the concept that I said about Juggernauts earlier, you kind of want to play 4, so you can have Lee Sin in, and you turn him into a Juggernaut, not a duelist, because you don't really need 4 duelists for this comp. In all honesty, 2 to 4 doesn't really change much because the stats are kind of like whatever, but 2 to 6 is a huge difference, not because of the more attack speed, but because of durability you get. In the end, I feel like it's not worth it to play 6 duelists with Ashe, just because she doesn't need a durability. There's a different comp that I'm not going to talk about in this video, but in order to play 6 duelists, you play with Viego reroll, just because the durability actually is very effective for him. And the last Juggernaut unit we're going to throw in here would be a Set. Main reason why is because he's a soul fighter, therefore we can play a Gwen. And Gwen is a Sork, so the unit that is a Sork that is also Crystal Gambit, that is a Swain. And the last Crystal Gambit we're going to throw out here would be a Zyra. So you have a +1 unit with this plant from Zyra. And finally, the last Luchador unit that's also a Bastion, the one you want to play around, would be Braum. So for itemization, you can make Udyr the main tank until you get to Fast 9. So for the most part, you can play around Ashe and try to play for Juggernaut, maybe for Duelist, like I showed in the second gameplay example, so you can build up to level 9. Some cases, you might have to play this board. And if you have leftover AP items, you can either throw it on Gwen or Zyra. Either one's fine. Whichever one's level 2 first, that's what I would prefer. And the position around this board, it would be something like this is fine. And you can put Gwen over here or over here. It doesn't really matter. It's just as long as you block Braum. So you don't want Braum on the edge because he will just die right away. But you also want him near the center, so you can pick up the center unit and throw them to the back line. Other than that, there's not really much to say about this comp. It's just try to play your strongest board at 8, roll for this board, and then Fast 9, pivot into this style of the board. Another route that you can use 4-cost unit if you have to pivot into the Fast 9 with would be the Karma board. So for the Ashe example was, if you have a lot of bows, then you play Ashe. If you have a lot of tiers, then you just play Karma. Main reason why is because you can build stuff like Adaptive Helm or Shojin, either one's fine. You can build Voice Staff as well. And Karma doesn't really need much. Her BIS apparently is this with Morellicon. This is apparently like the highest win rate items on her. But if you want to play for more damage, then I guess you can use Jewel Gauntlet. Instead of Adaptive, you can do Shojin. Either one's fine. You can do Shojin or Adaptive. They're both really great items on her. It's just for the most part, if you have like AP items and tiers, then you can play for Karma route. And since Karma is a mech, the mech unit you want to use as your main tank would be a J4. And you just put whatever tank items you can on him. Then for the third mech unit, it's going to be a Yone because you summon this mech. And on top of that, he's also Edgelord. And what unit is Edgelord that is also Luchador? That is a Volibear. And the unit that you want Luchador active on would be obviously a Braum, because we always gotta play Braum for almost every board. A unit that's Bastion with Braum, if you want to play this style, you can do this, is with a Xin Zhao, because Xin Zhao is also a Soul Fighter, which that means you can throw in the Sork unit that's also Soul Fighter, and that would be a Gwen. Since you need Sorcerer on Karma to do damage, Gwen is a pretty good fit for that. And since J4 is the strategist unit we can throw out that's also a mentor would be a Rise, so we can get that trait activated. And Rise also allows you to gain more mana on your units because of his mentor, so therefore Karma even gets more mana. That's kind of the reason why Adaptive Helm is a higher win rate than Shojin. So if you can, just slam Adaptives if you can. And then for your last unit, you could throw in whatever +1. You could throw in a Zyra, or you could throw in a TF. It's whatever. It's totally up to you at level 9. But for the most part, I prefer Zyra because just in case if I cannot play the Gwen route, then we could take out Gwen and then Zhao, and we could play the Crystal Gambit version. And that would be with Swain and a Janna. This allows us to get 3 more strategists instead of having 2. And we still get that Sork from Swain, and we still get that Bastion from Swain as well. And if you want to, you can transfer the main carry items from Karma into Zyra as well, and you can make Zyra the main carry over the Karma. So this is actually a pretty good pivot from playing a level 8 board with Karma carry into level 9 when you get level 2 of Zyra, then you can pivot into that. So it's totally up to you which one you want to do. You can do the Gwen with Xin Zhao style, or you can play Crystal Gambit all the way, so you can fast 9 faster with the cash outs. If you want to see an example version of like what you can do at level 8 instead, if you don't want to use any legendaries at the time, or if you can't afford to, then we take out all the legendary units here. And what you can do is you can use a Mundo and a Vi. So instead of Crystal Gambit here, and then instead of having this Volibear, you can have a Senna on the board, so you at least have Executioner. So from here, you have a decent board overall. So we still have like 3 strategists and 3 Crystal Gambit, so therefore we can cash out the fast 9. As long as you 2-star most of these units you see here, you should be able to probably fast 9 with this board, because it's not too weak, but it's also not too strong as well. Now, those 2 were great examples for 4-cost carries into level 9 board, but now I'm going to show you just a straight level 9 board, where if you can afford to, you can fast 9 and play for these carries instead. And for the first one we're going to talk about here is Varus. For his BIS is Shojin, IE, and Guardbreaker. These are like the best items you can put on him, or instead of Guardbreaker, you can do Deathblade. Either one's fine. As long as all sword items or some sort of amplification to IE, which is Guardbreaker, this is fine to build overall. And your main tank is going to be a Cassante because he's Wraith with Varus. So whatever tanks items you have, just throw it on him. And the unit that synergizes as Luchador with Varus would be Anar. And for like every comp, you always got to play with the Braum because Braum is golded. And to activate Braum's Bastion, you're going to use a Swain. So this means that we're going to be playing Crystal Gambit. And those unit is going to be a Zyra, and use Zyra's plant as a frontline unit because this comp doesn't have too much frontline. So therefore, you're going to have to use this plant as a tank. And then the last Crystal Gambit is going to be Janna. Main reason why, because we get protected with Cassante. And since Janna is a strategist unit. A really good strategist tank would be a J4, and he also provides CC as well, so this actually helps a lot for the board. The last unit you can throw in whatever here. You can throw in Gwen if you want, because of the sword from Swain, or you can throw in Rise because he also gives you Mentor, and he also gives you extra strategist. So either one's fine, or if you want to, you can do TF. So you have a lot of potential with the last unit you can flex around, but it's mainly this, and with whatever +1 you can throw in. I kind of prefer the Rise because the extra strategist helps a lot to make the board a little bit more tankier, and you get a little bit more damage on Varus over having Gwen, because Gwen of no items to me personally I feel like it's kind of useless, and you can just throw leftover AP items on Zyra. The last version I'm going to show you for a level 9 board is going to be TF, and the times you want to play him is when you have a Gwyn's Rage Blade, so maybe you could potentially fast 9 with this board instead. Like if you fail to play the Ashe board, or if you manage to succeed of Ashe, but you want to pivot into even a stronger board, then you can play Twist of Fate instead. But his items are a little different from Ashe, because instead of doing Kraken, you're going to need Gunblade instead. These are his BIS items, and the third item doesn't really matter. You can do double Rage Blade if you want, or you can do anti-heal items such as Morellicon, but I kind of prefer red buff because more attack speed on him the better, since he's more of an auto attack champion. For every time he auto attacks, it bounces between 3 enemies, so that's kind of the reason why he's better as a attack speed champion than a caster. And I'm going to show the easier route first. The first route we're going to show is the Juggernaut style. So Lee Sin, you want to turn him into a Juggernaut, and your main tank is most likely going to be a Set because he's a very solid unit overall. So whatever tank items you have, just throw it on him. The other Juggernaut we're going to use that is a Luchador is going to be a Mundo. And to have extra stats on the board, we're going to throw out an Udyr. And his mentor gives more AP and AD on the board. The other Luchador obviously is going to be a Braum. And the unit that is a Bastion for Braum, that's going to be for this style is Shen. Because Shen is an Edgelord. So therefore we're able to play Yone. And whatever leftover 80 items you have on him, say for example like Edge Knight, then you can just throw it on Yone. So this board overall is pretty decent. It's not really too high damage. It's only high damage if you 2-star both TF and Yone. So that's going to be the hard part. But for the most part, it's a super tanky board, which allows you to like last long enough for TF to kill everything. For the last unit we're going to throw in, because we have a Soul Fighter on our main tank, it's going to be a Gwen. You know, without a Sorkin, this is fine because most of the damage is just going to be TF anyways. If you want to play a more high damage route with less Juggernauts, then we just take out Lee Sin and we throw in a Vi for that Juggernaut. And instead of this Luchador, which is Mundo, because we're going to drop down to 2 Juggernaut, which is going to be Set and Vi, the unit we throw in instead for the Edgelord with Yone, it's going to be a Volibear. So we still have Luchador in, it still helps overall. And since we don't need this Bastion unit from Shen, then we can use a different Bastion unit like Swain. This also gives us Sork with Gwen. And instead of using Udyr, we're going to use more damage, which is going to be a Zyra. So this board is actually pretty good too. If you want to play a more high damage cap board, this is better. Whichever one you want to play, it's up to you. It's just whatever you can afford or whatever you can hit. And that's going to be it for how to fast 9. You can play many different level 9 boards. I'm just showing you guys an example to give you guys ideas on how to play it. But for the most part, if you have any questions about how to fast 9, just let me know in the comment section down below. I'll try to answer the best of my capabilities. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.